Finally sitting down to record this. What's up, y'all? It was a absolutely great year for horror. Ton of great scary movies that I wanted to talk about. I'm not a film critic per se, but I'm working on my public speaking here, practice on YouTube, and I just like talking about things that I like. I'm not a movie critic per se, but there was a lot of cool stuff that I just wanted to ramble on about. So, got my list. Here we go. We'll start with the good ones. First was The Black Phone, directed by Scott Derrickson, who has really effectively distilled the Stephen King vibe from the 80s now with this movie. A lot of these movies are set in the 80s now because it's like the horror times, and I can dig that. I like this. And Joe Hill, Stephen King's son, doing the writing, I mean, you could swear it was King himself because it's just that spot on to the story. It's like a supernatural thing where there's a killer catching people, and one of the kids he catches, his sister has like psychic abilities, and he has kind of a little bit of an antenna for that as well. And it's about him trying to escape the killer, played by Ethan Hawke, who's going through kind of like a second wind to his career that's going real well. Really good, really fun movie. Very classic 80s vibe horror film that I was a fan of. Next on my list I have Beast, which is basically Jaws, but it's lions. You know, the whole man versus nature bit. Idris Elba helms that one, and I'm pretty impressed that he can sound like a guy from Chicago, because if you hear me try to do a British accent, that's a nightmare. So he's got chops as an actor. And great to see Sharlto Copley, the guy from District 9, in a supporting role there, that he played it kind of pitch perfect to what it needed to be. So very good. X, next on my list, which is an amazing movie, just fantastic, by Ty West, where it's kind of a Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of story about some radical kids in the 70s. They're going out to this farm to make some dirty movies, and the people who own the farm turn out to be psychos, and it's like an elevated Texas Chainsaw, basically, where just like the cinematography and the performances are just like 211. You know what I mean? Not one to miss. I really enjoyed it a lot, and at the end of it, there's actually like an after credits that I thought was a joke, which like points to a prequel about the psychos, like their origin story, kind of going back to the Depression days. And I was really shocked when they actually made that movie. I thought it was a joke, but it as an actual movie. It's called Pearl, that also came out this year. And it's very different than X. The only really thing tying the two together is the character, played by Mia Goth. And she turns in a performance that's just incredible, including this monologue where she describes what it's like to be a psycho at the end, where it's just like Oscar kind of caliber performance. And there's a third one that's coming out that they teased at the end of that one called Maxine, which, I can't wait to check out. So, definitely good. Next on the list, we got Fresh, which was a Hulu movie. It's not a made-for-the-movies movie, directed by Mimi Cave. I believe that's her first foray into horror, where it's kind of like a hostile thing where this creep ex-doctor guy is kidnapping women and chopping them up and selling their meat to rich lunatic cannibals on the internet. And it's about how the lady has to try and escape, and it's this kind of battle of wits kind of deal with the cannibal guy. And I loved the ending, and a good ending is essential for me to like a horror movie. You can't do a letdown for me and still get the 4 stars. And this one was really cool, empowering, but also, practical, and just, make you squeamish, kind of. There's a lot of stuff in there that kind of gets to you. I enjoyed it. Next on the list, Nope, Jordan Peele's third movie, and he's back with Daniel Kaluuya in the starring role, and he is next level good. I mean, you can't write off his first two as flukes. He's shown that he can just do this. He can make a movie that's scary and suspenseful and has a lot to say, a lot of important issues mixed up in there. I won't go into it, but the real one that sets this one apart, that just makes this more than just like the third movie from Jordan Peele, is Steve Yeun's performance, the guy from Glenn from The Walking Dead. He plays the kind of... He's the villain, I'd say, but presented in a very sympathetic way, where you really get to see under the hood of how he got to be the character that he is in the film. And really good stuff. I highly recommend. Definitely check out. Next I have Men, which I think is another genre newcomer, Alex Garland, who made this film about a lady who she's trying to get away from some trauma that happened in her life, so she takes this like vacation out to British countryside, and she's just has creepy men all around her, and the movie, you know, flops back and forth. Is it all in her head? Is this just a town of creepy people? Is this just how men are, and we don't ever stop and notice how creepy we are? There's a lot of stuff like that, and a lot of the imagery really gets like right under your skin. Like, if you make it to the end of the movie, you'll see what I mean. I won't spoil it, but it's definitely unsettling and makes you think a little, and I'm a fan of that in my horror movies, so thumbs up. Halloween Ends. I wasn't thinking that Halloween Ends was going to be great, because Halloween Kills was largely a disappointment for me, especially the ending, and I didn't actually make it to the theater, which is kind of rare for me when a Halloween movie comes out, so saw this one at home, and I would like to say that it'd be like number 4 if I ranked all of them, which, I mean, the first 3 are great, everything after is pretty bad. From bad to really bad. But I put this ahead of those because it did have like an original idea, rather than just, you know, Michael killing people, chasing Jamie around the screen again. They introduce a new character who kind of becomes like a confidant of Michael, like a friend. Like Michael reaches out to him kind of like a kindred spirit kind of thing, and there's like a pass the torch kind of thing that they tease. I won't tell you if they go through with it or not, but it was the first time since 3 that they actually tried to do something interesting, and it didn't come out perfect. I mean, there's problems with the movie. It's not great. It feels like really hacked. It feels like they tried to jam like 2 movies worth of movie into it, and the way things are cut, like characters just change tonally like really wildly from one scene to another. It feels like there's a lot of editing or something, like committee kind of think, but definitely it was interesting, and the conclusion of the movie hit like the emotional and the gory note that I would hope to see if they're really going to end it for real this time. So mixed bag, but I'd still say good with Halloween Ends. Next was Prey, which is definitely the best Predator movie, aside from the first 2, I would say. The thing is, it's set back in like 1700s America on the plains, and it's all native people that the Predator's hunting, and that they eventually turn the tables on them like they do in every Predator movie. It was really good. I loved the fact that it came out good, because all the worst people on the internet wanted to hate it because it stars a woman who's native. And even better was when every cast member of the original movie came out and said, yeah, this is great, we love this movie. And that's always a nice bonus when those people get kind of the middle finger pointed at them. But just, you know, all that aside, it is just a good movie. Very true to the franchise. And I think they should do some more stuff like this. I mean, I'd love to see the Predator in, like, you know, frontier Australia, or, you know, a gold rush town in California in the 1800s, or, I mean, Northern Africa during World War II. Or there's all kinds of places that are hot that they could basically redo this, and it would be fun. So I'm for that. The Menu. Just saw this one last week. This one, I could see the people who would argue this isn't really a horror movie, this is more like a dark comedy, something along the lines of The Last Supper. I think they would have a point. It's about like this Gordon Ramsay kind of chef who goes crazy and prepares this like last dinner for a bunch of his clients, and there's like a thread tying them all together. I won't spoil it, but it's not quite what you're thinking. If you take the ride, I think you'd find it interesting. It's the psycho chef is portrayed by Ralph Fiennes, which I think he's good in this kind of role. Like I thought he was a really good Francis Dollarhide in the Red Dragon movie, which he didn't get a lot of credit for that. But when you're comparing Red Dragon to Manhunter, obviously that's, you know, there's no comparison there. The Manhunter is just way, way better. But I do think that Fiennes' performance in that movie was actually really good. Probably the best in the movie. So definitely check out The Menu. Thumbs up on that. Bones and All. Like a last minute surprise I got. The Timothée Chalamet, the guy from Dune, the kid from Dune, the new Paul, is in it. And from the trailer, you might have got the vibe that like this is like fun, or like Natural Born Killers, where it's, you know, 2 psychos in love on the road kind of thing, and it's gonna be that whole kind of anti-hero, turn the tables on society kind of deal. And you get about 10 minutes into the movie and it just goes completely you they may have teased enough that you know the deal. I didn't. From the trailer I saw, I was really kind of blown away when the movie just goes bonkers like 15 minutes in, and definitely a great ride and a very powerful movie, like very emotional, not your average movie that you might have been expecting based on those trailers. Number one movie on my list to save for last is Barbarian, which is, I mean, this was just the shining star of horror for 2022. Just so good. It's you may have seen a little bit here. You may have seen the trailers where and the trailers I think are almost as important as the movie for if you're gonna like a movie, because the trailer's meant to like make you want to see the movie, not tell you everything about it. And this one did that very well, where it's basically you have Georgina Campbell, who plays this professional coming to Detroit to interview for a job, and she books an Airbnb in this like completely destroyed, demilitarized zone called Brightmoor, which is a real place, and it is really a horrible, just destroyed little suburb of Detroit in real life, side note. Anyway, she comes to stay there, and she finds Bill Skarsgård is in her Airbnb. He's been booked there too on like another service, and she agrees to come in, and they're going to share the house, and you think you know what's going to happen next. That's the thing in this movie. You're sitting there like, okay, I've seen this before. I know it's coming. This is really well done. They're dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's, but I know what's coming next. And then a third of the way through, the movie does this twist that like Hitchcock would be just proud as hell of. It goes in a completely other direction and becomes a whole other type of movie. And it's gory and shocking and suspenseful and just everything a horror movie should be. Just absolutely top notch. Can't recommend it enough. Barbarian. So those were the good movies I saw. I saw a couple bad ones too. I saw Smile, which I did not like at all because it's a ripoff of It Follows mixed with The Ring. And It Follows is a great movie that I don't think gets enough love. I think it's like on the level of like The Shining, like a masterpiece in horror that a lot of people were too dumb to get. And it's, just not occupying a place like that just because it's shot a little too high for some people. And The Ring, I hated mostly because of the dumb ending. And to take those two movies and mash them together, it just seems so cheap and so unoriginal. And the lazy ending in this movie, I mean, if you're going to see it, go ahead. But I really was not impressed with Smile. Despite the fact that there's a lot of cool people in it, a lot of good performances, and it just as a horror movie, it works. I mean, the jump scares and the reveal of the monster at the end is, I mean, they were effective. It worked as on that level, but so unoriginal and such a lazy, dumb ending. Just killed it for me. So thumbs down on Smile from me. I also saw The Invitation, which is a vampire movie, and if you saw the trailer, you saw the whole movie. Like, literally nothing happens in the movie that they don't show in the trailer. Basically, the trailer was a 2-minute version of the movie, just with a lot of, basically a PG-13 love scene is all they didn't throw in. Other than that, if you saw the trailer, you could skip this. It was really that kind of dull and uninspired as a movie. Not the worst movie ever or anything like that, just not good. Maybe I'm just thinking of it in terms of all the other movies that were so good this year. But yeah, thumbs down on The Invitation. And I've yet to see Don't Worry Darling, which looks more like people would call it a thriller or something like that. I don't know, they'd call it a horror movie proper, but it definitely seems to have some horror elements. I just didn't make it to the movie. It was only at the movies for like a week. Everybody was disappointed in it, so now I'm intrigued to see what they were disappointed in. Didn't make it in time for the video, so we'll check it out. And I didn't see Terrifier 2 because I had never seen Terrifier 1, and I watched it on Tubi, and it is just so dumb. It's just so pointless a movie that I can't imagine. Actually, I can imagine why you would like it. Like when I was 12 and I was all into stuff like, The Burning and Mutilator and Slumber Party Massacre, all these like beneath the big Jason and Michael tier of, slashers, like below that, the lower budget version of that. I think if you loved that, and they gave you at 12 years old, like I was, like $100,000 to make a movie, you'd make a movie like Terrifier. Like a super gory, gritty, ugly movie, just with nothing to it. Like, and a completely dumb, nonsensical ending. So, they weren't going to get me again. I wasn't going for Terrifier 2. Other than that, That's my wrap up of horror in 2022. And now to practice editing, which is really the only point in my voice being on tape anywhere is I can practice editing. So, peace out.